A good question would be, what are your favorite video game adaptations?
If we're talking film and TV, the recent ones that come to mind are definitely one, Arcane, the animated series
on Netflix.
Yeah, on Netflix, like based on all the kind of League of Legends lore.
I knew you were
going to
say a show.
Jinx!
There's not
Jinx!
many movies that you could pick out.
It's weird because I think what it speaks to is almost that, at least with a TV show, you have multiple, like, you know, facets to really have an engaging story. Like, not just with little subplots, but that pay off different characters' arcs so you can really explore them, but like an overall main storyline that just builds and builds to eventually get to that really like climactic ending.
When I think of shows, obviously, like, I think The Last of Us. And the reason The Last of Us was so good is because they stayed to the story of the games. Other than like exploring the backstory of one character, The Last of Us, the show, is like beat for beat the game.
And more, actually. They actually expanded on the world building and stuff, didn't they? Yeah. They actually delved more into the cordyceps and stuff and its origin and everything.
Yeah. So other than like little minor changes, most of it is the exact same. Really, like when you've got a game with a story as fantastic as The Last of Us.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up,
That's all you got to do. Like, I don't even know why it says written by such and such. It's like, just use the story of the game.
Use the blueprint that was already set up in 2013.
We kind of cut you off though, Denise. You brought up Arcane.
That's all good.
Why does Arcane work?
I think, like, adding on to why it works, and it's just something that Martin said about, and both of you said actually, about how, you know, when you stick to the story, but not just that, you expand on what's already been established, that is when you cater not just to existing fans, but new fans as well, because you're really fleshing out that universe. And I feel, you know, a show like Arcane really works because, say, for people who aren't familiar with the lore, because when you play the game, you know, unless you really dive into reading all the backstories and stuff, you don't need to know that.
And all that
You
crap.
don't need to know all that to play the actual game, right? And it's a funny running joke that everything about League of Legends outside of the game itself is amazing. But the game is like down here. So Arcane was like truly up here, and they expanded on these stories, and like you were given these histories and just all these details that, you know, I wasn't aware of for some of the characters that just made it so impactful and really clarified the characters' relationships with each other as well, and they had really like meaningful arcs. I think that's what really just elevated it all for me. Like, it made these video game characters so human. It made it so accessible that you didn't need to play the game to enjoy the show. That's what I felt. Because like we said, like, you know, characters, the story was so set up so well that you really didn't need that background to just understand and get it.
Is there like certain fan bases that are like huge fans of like the books and the graphic novels and the TV shows without ever having touched the keyboard and mouse of the game itself? Like, where people, they could just like stay in that like lore bubble without ever having played the game? Is that sort of a thing?
I think it's possible.
Sub-forums?
I mean, that's what you'd hope one day that adaptations get that good.
We'll get there.
You know, like with the thematic messages that were being told, it felt like something you'd watch. I don't know. For some reason, Jinx's arc, for example, without any spoilers, it felt very like much like the Joker, like on that level of, you know, depth and kind of growth of how you just see this character go all the way down.
So is his arc pretty much a character that has to break his own rules and is pushed too far to the point where...
You might be getting into spoiler if you try and specify.
No, I'm
It's a
just
she, right?
asking.
Yeah, it's a she. Yeah, Jinx. Yeah, she kind of has that.
aspect of
It's
Joker?
basically the
trials and
tragedy.
tribulations.
The tragedy
Yeah,
The
aspect.
tragedy. Okay, that's a great
And the
way
plot
of
twist
Right.
and stuff like that.
And in contrast, because the main story follows kind of her and her older sister, and they get like separated at some point, you see them have their like literally different journeys, like almost opposites to each other. It really adds like a really
It's
nice
a tragedy.
thematic contrast.
The age-old tragedy. Yeah, you know, it's like
And-
two warriors who have diverged off
Yeah.
different paths, and they want to get back together, but they're too different now.
So it's
They
like
can't
So
rekindle. They
heartbreaking.
can't rekindle that.
like how twin brothers how they have completely different lives. I'm pretty sure there were twin brothers that had lived a completely different set of lives, where one was like in jail from drugs and the other one was like a cop or something like that. Something ridiculous, but it was really riveting. I like that idea though.
Yeah.
Of like siblings that live completely different lives, and it comes down to like these very crucial but simple choices.
Yeah, that's it. Because you just feel the impact of the stakes so much more, and there's so much behind it that expands on the whole thing. Yeah. And it's very similar to how I felt about another TV show, Cyberpunk Edgerunners as well, where it's like it has all these cool Easter eggs and contextual things from the actual game, but we're following characters we've never met before, and like through that exploring other things that the game might have touched on, but maybe didn't fully dive into. Like the whole idea of, because in the game, Cyberpunk 2077, you can pretty much upgrade yourself with robotic parts and things, which give you like
enhancements.
Yeah, enhancements and stuff. And in the anime, they basically explored, the impacts of getting addicted to that kind of cycle. And I just thought it was like I didn't expect it.
Sandavista. What's that fasting Sandavista?
Sandavista thing. It's like a spinal thing he implements, which I think in the story it's like an illegal prototype part that they were trying to get, and I don't know how. I can't remember what happened, but he had to install it, and it basically made him so overpowered that he got so addicted to like using it, but it was like killing him at the same time.
He lost his humanity.
Like, it's pretty full on. But again,
I wonder how far away we are from a future like that.
What's 2077 minus 2023? 54.
Yeah, but we could get there sooner, Martin. Try and be a bit more.
Well, you know
optimistic.
what? Edgerunners is a sequel, so it's one. It's actually one less year. But notice how everything we're talking about here are gripping character pieces.
Exactly.
That is irrespective of video game mechanics, and that can be applied to just conventional Hollywood tales and stuff.